last rule you broke. He said he stole a chef's uniform at a restaurant, put it on, and then walked around the restaurant asking people if they were enjoying their dinner. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Bennett.
Hi, everyone. How's it going? Good, okay. I grew up in a tiny little pig farm in the middle of the outback of South Australia. And it was a tiny little pig farm that I grew up on with my 3 older brothers and my mum and my dad. And we grew up in this. The pig farm was like a battery type pig farm where the pigs are just shut away in these sheds and they're just in these little tiny pens, and some of them are only allowed to stand up and sit down. And when I was 6 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night and I snuck up to the pig shed and I set free all of the pigs. Now, this was not because of some sort of animal liberation thing as a 6-year-old kid. I remember what I thought at that time, and that was I thought I'd wake up in the morning and just there'd be a pig driving the tractor, a pig would be making breakfast. I just thought the pigs would be everywhere. But I woke in the morning and my dad shaking me awake, and he took me up to the pig shed, and none of the pigs had moved. And Dad just said, "See, they want to be here." I hope you've learned something. And that was the sort of thing that my dad would say a lot. I hope you've learned something. He always said these things. My dad was a very serious man, very serious and stern, impatient but proud man. And my dad was this very, very serious man, and he was dominated my life growing up, me and my brother's life, and so my dad would work on the pig farm with him every single day. But my dad wasn't just a pig farmer, he was a jack of all trades, had to have a hand in everything. So my dad was also my school teacher. And I don't mean a teacher at my school, I mean my actual teacher. So I saw him every day at school, and then I'd work with him on the pig farm in the mornings and nights as well. So I saw him every single weekday. So all I had were weekends. Weekends were my times off from Dad. And on Sundays, me and my family would go to church. Dad was the minister at the local church. So all I had was Saturdays. Saturdays were my respite from Dad. And on Saturdays, all you do when you grow up on the outback in South Australia, all you do on Saturdays is play sports. Dad was my football coach, my basketball coach, and my tennis coach. He was everything in my life. This very serious, impatient, stern, yet proud man. And my dad, when we were little kids, he says he's never said a swear word in his entire life. He's never said a swear word. And me and my brothers would say, "How is that possible, Dad? How is that possible that you've never said a swear word?" And he had the same answer every time. There are other words you can use, and there's no need for that language. And I'm not kidding, I've seen him walk around the back of the car at night time and hit his shin so hard on the tow bar of the car that he's just dropped to his knees, looked up at the moon, raised his fist and just yelled, "Curses!" He yelled curses. Like a Scooby-Doo villain, he yelled curses. These are the other words that my dad used. The other thing he does instead of swearing is he just yells his feelings. So we'll just be out working on the farm somewhere and we'll just hear this scream, just this, "I'm angry! I'm annoyed! I'm upset!" He just yells his feelings. And that's what he does instead of swearing. And it was hard growing up with this very serious, stern and this impatient, weird man. And when I turned 18 years old, I decided that farm life wasn't for me. I moved away from the farm and I moved to the city. I started going to university, and I studied arts at university, and I became a vegetarian. Around about this same time, my second oldest brother, Alf, moved to a place called Kangaroo Island, which is a little island off the coast of South Australia. It's this beautiful natural wonderland with all those animals that you tourists want to see. There's no introduced species on Kangaroo Island, so all the natural flora and fauna is allowed to thrive. And my dad loves Kangaroo Island. He goes and visits my brother every single weekend. He loves it. It's his favourite place in the world. He's never been anywhere else in the world. Never even been on an aeroplane or anything like that. He's got the same excuse for not going anywhere, and that's, "Why do I need to go anywhere? Kangaroo Island is right there." And even now I'll say to him things like, "Dad, I've been to Japan and places like that." And he's like, "I've seen Japanese people on Kangaroo Island. Why do I need to go?" by this time I'm living in the city, but I decided to go and visit my brother on Kangaroo Island. And Dad, of course, he's visiting my brother so much he manages to get a job on Kangaroo Island. And he gets a job as the minister at the local church. And I go to visit my brother, we go to church on the Sunday, and Dad has got another job. After church, every Sunday, he goes hunting with these local farmers and these hunters, and they hunt these wild pigs, which are the only introduced species on Kangaroo Island. And we go to church, and after church, Dad says, do you want to come hunting with me? And I say, no, we don't need to do that. And he says, you just want to come and check it out. It's in this big, beautiful national park. It's really beautiful. You want to see Kangaroo Island, come to this national park, and then you can go after that. And so I say, okay, I'll go to this national park. And so Dad and I, we drive to this national park, and there's this big shed out the front of the park, and I walk into this shed, and there's all these hunters and farmers just loading up these trucks with guns, and then driving off into this national park, hunting these wild pigs. And Dad says again, are you sure you don't want to come hunting with me? And I say, no, I don't need to do that. And he says, okay, I've organized for a ride back to your brother's house, just help me load up this truck with guns. And Dad hands me a gun. And I don't know if you ever held a gun before. I'm in Texas, you're all probably holding right now, I don't know, but I'd never held a gun before, but I feel the weight of this gun. And this weird feeling comes over, this sense of power or something, and I go, oh yeah, I want to shoot something, let's shoot something, I want to shoot this gun. And Dad says, great, we load up this truck with guns, and then Dad and I, we just drive off into this national park. We park the truck, and then it's just Dad and I just walking through this national park hunting these wild pigs. After about 3 hours, Dad has shot 6 wild pigs. I have shot none. I enjoy looking through the scope at things far away. I like following birds and things like that. I like jumping out of the bushes and pretending to shoot things. Like that, I'm having a really good time. And Dad is getting very annoyed by this because he's screaming, I'm annoyed. And he says, look, I keep thinking you're going to shoot something and then you're annoying me. Do you want to shoot something? And I say, no, I'm having a great time, Dad. I feel like I'm a predator or something like this. By this time I put the mud under my eyes. And I'm having a great time. And Dad says, no, I'm going to find you something to shoot. And he disappears off through these trees, and he comes back about 10 minutes later, and he whispers, I found you something. I follow him through these trees, and he tells me to look through my scope, through these bushes, and I look through my scope, and I see a pig. And it is a big pig. And it is just laying in some mud. And it has a bunch of little babies just suckling to its teats. And I'm looking at this sleeping mother pig, and Dad just whispers in my ear, it's easy. And I say, I know it's easy, Dad, but this is a little bit fucked, don't you think? And he says, there's no need for that language. I'm looking at this pig, and Dad whispers again, he said, there's an introduced species that you're helping. These pigs, they ruin the environment for all the natural flora and fauna. You're helping. You're helping create a beautiful sort of environment here, and you're helping. You can do this. And I sit there looking at this pig, and I turn to Dad and say, do I have to shoot the babies as well? And he goes, no, just shoot the mum. They'll die by themselves. I'm looking at this pig, and it feels like forever, and then I think, no, you can do this. You're helping. And I get this pig's head in my sights. I close my eyes, and I pull the trigger. When I open my eyes, I see Dad's back in front of me. And I see it just drop to the right. And I have just shot Dad in the back. Drop the gun, and Dad swings around as he grabs himself by the shoulder. His blood comes out from between his fingers, and he looks at me. His eyes are wide, and he just says, you fucking shot me! I've never heard him swear before. He just unleashes this tirade of abuse. You fucking effing shot me! I am effing dead! You have effing killed me! Do you know where we are? We're in the middle of nowhere! I am effing dead! You have effing killed me! I drop the gun in shock as I just stand there, but secretly in the back of my brain, there's this little switch that wants to go, there's no need for that language. just standing there, and Dad pulls out his phone, he throws his phone at me and just says, call Mum, tell her you killed me and I'm dead. I get his phone and I dial emergency. I'm not an idiot. I dial the emergency number and I say, I've just shot my dad. And they say, where are you? And I say, Kangaroo Island. And I say, we need you to be a bit more specific than that. And I say, I don't know, we're in this national park. People go hunting here. There's this national park. And I say, we think we know where you are. There's a property about 1 kilometer away. Do you think you can get him to that property where we can bring the helicopter in to pick him up? And I say, yeah, he seems okay. And I hang up from them and I tell Dad we've got to get this property. He knows where the property is, and we walk back to where we've parked the truck. I put Dad in the passenger side of the truck. I run around to the driver's side. I start the truck up, and I can't drive a stick shift. And this is one of these big old trucks with one of these things on the steering wheel. And all I do is I grind it into a gear and we bounce forwards and stop. And Dad screams in pain, and I start it up again, I grind it into a different gear, and we bounce forwards and stop, and Dad turns to me and says, get out. I get out of the truck and walk around to the passenger side as Dad slides along the seat, leaving this trail of blood on the back of the seat, and drives himself. All they've told me to do on the emergency line is just to make sure that Dad stays awake, which is good now that he's driving. And we get to this property, and by the time we get there, Dad's got this sort of grey, purple colour. The helicopter is there. They take him out of the truck. They load him into the truck. I load him into the helicopter. I get on the helicopter, and we get taken to the hospital for free. We get taken to hospital, and the next thing I remember is my mum walking out of the surgery. Mum walks out and says, he's going to be okay. He's lost his collarbone. He didn't have very much blood when he got here, but he's going to be okay. And she says, do you want to go and visit him? And I say, because I just can't at that time, and I'm talking to my mum and everything, and then finally I go in and visit Dad in his hospital room, and he's sitting in the bed, and he looks at me, and I say sorry, and he says that same thing again. I hope you've learned something. But to be honest, I think on that day that my dad learned something. That is, sometimes there is a need for that kind of language. I've never touched a gun before. For one reason, it's very hard to get a gun in Australia because we have a thing called gun laws. And uh, 10 years later, I found out from one of Dad's mates that he's almost been shot about 12 different times from different people because he jumps in front of people just as they're about to shoot.